Governor Hochul shocked pretty much everyone last week when she indefinitely paused the congestion pricing plan for New York City. That was a plan to charge up to $15 a day for cars to drive below 60th Street in Manhattan. The idea was to ease traffic, reduce pollution, and raise money for mass transit. It was supposed to take effect at the end of the month. The plan was unpopular, but so were similar plans in other major cities like London and Stockholm that now accept the idea. So, Anirban, did Governor Hochul make the right call in pausing this plan? And when I say pausing, everyone pretty much seems to think it's killing.
Yeah, I think the way it was announced that it seems like the plan is indefinitely stalled. My question is like, why? Is there a reason for it? Where is the data that she's saying that it will hurt small business owners and so on and so forth? Yes, true that there were some small business owners that protested, some area truckers protested. But if you look at the broader data, right, from London, for example, and other places, I was looking at this climate economist in Colombia called Gernot Wagner. And he shows that, in these, in London and other places, these kinds of congestion pricing actually helped small business owners because now they could deliver goods or services at a much more higher rate, at a faster pace. And it saved about $150 per person or pounds per person and something like that. So I don't know, without the data, without actual, evidence as to how it is hurting and how many people it is hurting, which is completely contrary to the previous studies.
$15 a day out of your pocket is
But it's only $15 if you drive at the peak times.
At the peak times, right.
People make fun of economists for not being able to agree on anything, but if you took a poll of economists on this, I would be willing to bet that 90% think this congestion pricing was the right thing. Yes, there could be some distributional problems associated with this, but how many low-income individuals really are driving their cars in lower Manhattan? Because the cost of driving from gas, insurance, and parking is really, really high. Plus, if you are willing to drive outside of the peak times, the prices come down very quickly.
This was a terrible decision by Governor Hochul, and we can talk about the economics of it, but from a climate perspective, it's a real signal that she's not a climate champion. Congestion pricing was in the scoping plan for implementing our Climate Act here in New York State. And we've lost all the momentum behind that. She's basically giving a signal that we're not actually serious about trying to reduce emissions. There's going to be 120,000 more cars in Manhattan than there would have been if this had gone into place. Those cars are putting out carbon dioxide emissions and air pollutants that are harming New Yorkers right now. This is a major step backwards.
Okay, so, Luke, if this doesn't work in New York City, can this work anywhere in the U.S.?
Well, I think it's timing. What Aaron said is true, but I think it's also true that she did the Democrats a solid by pulling this in an election year. The Democrats are looking to win back the House. I think New York's going to be pivotal in that. They're going to try to compete with some seats on Long Island that went in a Republican direction last time, and they're going to try to pick up a couple seats in lower central New York where those people also drive in and they probably don't want to be taxed. So I think she got calls from Democratic Party leaders, and Republicans have criticized this, and they're right. And I think she said, all right, I'll hold this off this year to help you guys
Okay, but this is a state and city issue, not a federal issue.
I'm not saying it's the right move. I'm just saying from a political, strategic standpoint, I think that's why she did it, and I can understand it.
Everybody thinks that driving is a free lunch, and it isn't. When people drive in downtown Manhattan, they're not only imposing costs on themselves, they're imposing costs on everyone else via the congestion and the pollution, but we don't want to take that into account. And again, going to the low-income individuals, I think in the long run they're going to be hurt because the Transit Authority was counting on this revenue to try to make improvements that would help low-income individuals get into the city. This is a disaster.
And you are very right that driving has a social cost. It has an externality, and most times drivers don't take into account that social cost. And this was a way that you allow the drivers in the high peak times to kind of internalize that social cost. It's an externality that has been produced. And yeah, I mean, I agree with my colleagues here. I don't see any climate or economic reason, but politically I get that because many people would be really, really angry about this. This is not a good time to, to roll this out. Maybe in future it will be rolled back. I don't know.
And now is a good time to prompt people to take the subway?
Yeah.
I mean, Republicans are just pouncing on that issue, and this just adds more fuel to that.
So is there anything that could have been done differently
Yes, she could have allowed it to happen.
Well, no, but in the way that the whole plan was put together, the law that was passed to create this,
You could
to make this.
you could deal with the redistribution problems. There could be a tax credit to low-income individuals that had to pay this. They could, give back the first $500 or $1,000. There were ways that they could have reduced some of the impact.
There's some of that in there, but the details are tough. And you could just roll it out in an odd-numbered year, not an even number year.
What about the cost? You said, $15 is not that much, but if it seems like this plan was put together mainly to raise money for mass transit, and maybe by trying to hit that number, that's a problem.
No, that number was developed, including economists that tried to come up with the cost associated with driving in downtown Manhattan at certain times. Now, again, if you're willing to drive in at 6 a.m. or other times, the price falls below. It's not $15 all the time. This is to try to discourage driving at certain times.
This has been done elsewhere, and it's proved immensely popular. It changes the way downtowns operate. So I know the political calculus now is that this was unpopular, and therefore it's smart for her to do it. But I think in the long run, it's actually a political miscalculation, because climate policies prove immensely popular over time as they're rolled out.
Can the state legislature somehow work around her on this? Is there anything that can happen there?
Possibly, but I don't think they're going to.
And most importantly, look, the studies are showing that at this moment, there are cars that lose on an average $150 an hour, standing in the jam, not being able to get anywhere. These are real costs that people are paying, right? So $15 was not that much. It's like you lose $150 per hour versus $15 to get in and out. And then also in the peak time, you can go in other places. And also there are a couple of entries, I think, that are also free.